Before I begin, I would like to thank two wonderful YouTube users who have been very helpful in the making of this video. They are CEMB Admins and Best to Stop 2010. The links to their channels are in the description box. Please subscribe to them if you have not already done so.
In the field of embryology, when Professor Keith Moore went through the translation of the various verses of the Quran dealing with embryology, he said that most of the thing which the Quran speaks about embryology is matching with the latest discoveries made in the field of embryology. But there are a couple of things which I cannot say that they are right. Neither can I say that they are wrong because I myself do not know about it. And one such verse was from Surah Iqra, or Surah Alaqa, chapter 96, verse number 1 and 2, which says, Iqra bismi rabbika allazi khalaq, khalaqal insana min alaq. Read, recite, or proclaim in the name of thy Lord who created the human beings from something which clings, a leech-like substance. So Professor Keith Moore said, I do not know whether the embryo looks like a leech or not. So he went in his laboratory and under a very powerful microscope examined the shape of the early stage of embryo and compared it with the photograph of a leech. And he was astonished at the striking resemblance.
Now let me give you one of my favorite arguments now, something that the Islamic Education and Research Academy has studied for a while. In Surah Al-Mu'minun, chapter 23, verses 12 to 14, there are approximately 8 beautiful points, eloquent points, describing the development of the human embryo in a very unique and eloquent way. Now look at what the scientists have to say. Not Professor Keith Moore, which has been using since the 80s, the scientists today, 2010. The Quran uses the word Alaqa, 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 Alaqa. This word, according to the classical dictionaries and the academic dictionaries, means to hang, to be suspended, to dangle, to stick, to cling, to cleave, and to adhere. It can also mean to catch, to get caught, affixed, and subjoined. And it can also mean a leech-like substance that takes its nutrients from blood. Now, the main meanings of this word, alaqa, correspond to modern embryology. This is particularly true for the various stages in the development of the human embryo. For instance, modern embryology clearly states that from day 15, the embryo is clinging or adhering to the connecting stalk, and it obtains its nutrients via contact with the maternal blood vessels. And listen to what embryologists Barry Mitchell and Ram Sharma have to say. They said, due to the rapid growth of the embryo during the second week, there is a need for more efficient means of nutritional and gaseous exchange. This is achieved when the embryonic blood vessels of the chorion come into contact with the maternal blood vessals of the decidua. So this alaqa stage can refer to something that's clinging onto the connecting stalk, and you can see this I have a book with you published in 2010 to indicate this, and also the blood vessels taking nutrients via the blood of the mother, just like a leech does. But also it's even more profound. The leech like substance actually could be seen not as metaphorical, but actually as real. At day 21 to day 24, a very special thing happens to the embryo. It's called the folding of the embryo. And if you go to the academic and medical pictures, which are online, type in day 21 or 24, you see the folding of the embryo. It looks just like a medicinal leech. Just like a medicinal leech. To confirm this, embryologists Barry Mitchell and Ram Sharma, they say longitudinal folding occurs between days 21 and 24. The endoderm forms like a tube-like structure, which looks like a leech.
For 3 or more decades, Islamic apologists have touted the embryology miracle as one of their favorite and strongest evidence to proclaim that the Quran is not of human origin. Having spent a considerable amount of time investigating Islamic miracle claims, I am still amazed at how anyone could look at the few verses in the Quran and claim they contain embryological details of any significance. In this video, I will not be attempting to debunk this embryology hogwash in its totality. Instead, I will be analyzing a single detail that I feel is the core of the argument. I will be looking at the term alaqa. Does this word actually mean a leech-like substance? Does it really mean that? Oh, the creepy music can be a good sign, can it? The claim is that the Quran uses the word alaqa. Muslim apologists prefer to translate the word alaqa as a clinging substance and or a leech-like substance. The apologists would then claim that the embryo resembles a clinging leech during development, a fact that they would claim Muhammad could not have known without the help of a divine agency. However, people like me, who debunk these miracle claims, prefer to translate the word alaqa as a blood clot. There are 2 reasons for this. One is that if we are to look at a few prominent translations, we see that they have translated it as a blood clot. Muslims would then argue that these translators are simply wrong. The second reason is that the term blood clot corresponds perfectly to 7th century Arabia's prevalent scientific paradigm, which originates in Hellenic science with the likes of great natural philosophers such as Aristotle and Galen. This is one of Galen's original works called On Semen. In it, we see Galen describing the ancient belief that male semen mixed with menstrual blood to become a clot, and that an animal develops from this clot. Of course, today we know that this is completely false. My personal argument is that since Galen's work formed the basis of biology during ancient times, it is very likely that the author of the Quran was merely subscribing to the wrong understanding of embryology during his time. Thus, I would argue that the author of the Quran has made a mistake by copying factually incorrect details from the Hellenic knowledge base. Of course, as far as Muslims are concerned, they will simply ignore the historical context and reinterpret the verses to suit whatever they want it to mean. They will argue by saying that the word alaqa has multiple meanings and that it actually means a clinging substance and or a leech-like substance, and therefore the Quran is accurate. Let us now analyze the meaning of the word alaqa. Alaqa comes from the three-letter root word alaq. The core underlying meaning of the root word is to cling, or to hang, or to be in suspension. In fact, the words clot and leech stem from the idea of something clinging together. Blood clinging together forms a clot, and leech is something that clings to the body of an animal while sucking its blood. By the way, it seems as though many Muslims are confused about what a leech-like substance actually means. Islamic idiots, apologists, they claim that leech-like substance is something that looks like a leech, in terms of its physical features. People who say this are quite wrong, because in reality when saying a leech-like substance, all it really means is a clinging substance. That is something that clings like a leech. It cannot mean something that looks like a leech because one of the meanings of the word alaqa is leech. That is to say, if Muslims really wanted to bring in the word leech into this verse, what they would actually be saying is that the seminal fluid was literally turned into a leech. But even if that is the case, I'm sure Muslims would simply say that the leech is a metaphor. And to a certain extent, I would agree that the embryo at a certain stage does in fact resemble a leech, or a roundworm, or a flatworm, or certain kinds of fish, or just about any wriggly, squiggly piece of flesh. So what Muslims don't realize is that when they say that the Quran says the embryo was a leech-like substance, all that they're really telling me is that the embryo was a wriggly, squiggly piece of flesh. Do you really think I'm going to be impressed that someone in the 7th century Arabia described the embryo as a wriggly, squiggly piece of flesh? Coming back to the topic, what we have here are two different sides to this argument. We have the Muslim side arguing that the word alaqa as used in the Quran means a clinging substance. And you know what, let us give them the benefit that the word alaqa as used in the Quran also means something that looks like a leech. It could be. I'm no expert on the Arabic language. On the other hand, we have people like myself arguing that the word alaqa as used in the Quran actually means a blood clot, which would indicate plagiarism of incorrect details from Hellenic science. So which one is it? Well, let's look into some of the Quranic commentaries or tafsirs written by the classical scholars of Islam. All the commentaries were taken from Al-Tafsir.com, which contains an extensive collection of many tafsirs in Arabic and some in English. Let us start with Al-Tabari's tafsir from the 9th century. Al-Tabari, in his explanation for verse 23:14, describes alaqa as a portion of blood. His explanation for 75:38 and verse 96:2 states that alaqa is from blood. Let us check another tafsir. This is by Al-Razi from the 13th century. Al-Razi, in his explanation for verse 22:5 and verse 23:14, states that alaqa is a portion of coagulated blood. In his explanation for verse 40:67, he states that all men are created from semen and from menstrual blood. Whoa, what? All men are created from semen and from menstrual blood. And he also said that the alaqa is a blood clot. Semen, menstrual blood, clot.
Victory!
Okay, I'm not even going to bother putting too much work into this. I'm going to sit back, relax, and set this vehicle on auto ponage. I will see you at the end of the video.
علم
Welcome back. So as we see, the greatest classical scholars of Islam have stated that Alaqa is a blood clot. Now, of course, the Muslims watching this right now are going,
"Oh, so what? All these scholars are wrong, and they have been wrong for hundreds of years. We, living in the 21st century, have all the right interpretations. And all the people who base their interpretation on hadiths from people like Ibn Abbas, who would have gotten it from Muhammad himself, were all wrong."
if that is what you really want to believe, go right ahead. It is none of my concern what kind of lies you have to tell yourself in order for you to sleep better at night. As far as I and other people who care about historical context and academic integrity are concerned, this is it. This is all that I need. Not only does the Quran contain wrong information, but its author has clearly plagiarized from Greek science. Thanks for watching.